So, what is KonoSuba? The best way I can summarize it is by saying this. It's like a fire that never stops burning, and people keep throwing jokes at it to try and put it out. And I don't mean this in a bad way. It's my favorite funny anime. It's comedy pure within the sea of copycat anime. But you might be saying right now, Coffee, isn't Konosuba just another isekai anime? Yes it is an isekai anime. But shut the fuck. It's not your basic copy and paste with an overpowered main character. In fact, the series takes jabs at the classic redos in the anime world by having characters that are living the OP main character life and turning them into jokes of the series. Well anyways, I might as well talk about the story and mention all the great things in this show. We start off with Kazuma, yet another Japanese NEET that does nothing but stay inside his room and play games. One day he has to do the unspeakable and go and touch grass to buy a game he wanted, and it goes mainly as planned. However, for probably the first time in his life, he decides to sacrifice himself for a girl that he thinks is about to get run over by a car. But plot twist, it's not Car-kun, it's not Truck-kun, it's Tractor-kun. And we all know how dangerous that is, right? Back on topic. Turns out that Kazuma doesn't actually get run over. In fact, the girl he was trying to save wasn't in any danger at all, and he just ended up having a heart attack and pissing himself. Yes, that's literally how he dies. And so he finds himself in front of the goddess Aqua, who's in charge of giving him his last request and bring him into the next fantasy world. And while this sounds cool, Aqua just makes fun of how Kazuma dies. So, instead of picking a cool weapon or another OP piece of gear to take into the fantasy world, he chooses Aqua as the item he takes. This might sound like a good idea at first, but not only is Aqua a bitch, but she's also dumb as hell. Now Kazuma is stuck in this parallel world with a completely useless goddess and literally nothing to his name but his tracksuit, and because he has no magic right now, he's stuck making ends meet as a builder. But of course, things don't stay this way forever, and they soon go on adventuring. Turns out Kazuma has a very high luck stat, but all of his other stats are quite average, and as a really harsh irony, Aqua, who is dumb as a nail, has high valuable stats as a priest or a healer, which is sought after by many parties. Kazuma is at this point very depressed. But anyways, they go and kill monsters for money, where Kazuma does all the work and Aqua gets munched on every time, and over their period of being adventurers, they gain two new members. A knight called Darkness, who despite having a cool name and being a class you'd think would be useful, is a complete masochist that can't hit anything for shit. And Megamin, who is an archmage and a race of human called a Crimson Demon. Now don't get me wrong, Megamin is super strong, as she specializes in explosion magic and, if nothing else, ends up nuking everything she aims at. But she doesn't have enough mana to use it more than once per adventure, and to top it all off, she collapses and can't move afterwards, making her an easy target for any monster or demon. So I guess I could start by giving some ratings. For the story it'd be an 8 out of 10, and while this sounds like a high rating for a comedy, bear with me here. Like I mentioned before, Konosuba takes the classic isekai format and turns it onto its head. Now this doesn't mean its world is inept, no. Instead, it keeps the world and the isekai elements, but is able to make a complete joke out of everything. You would think that each battle is predictable, but with all the different things that they throw at us, barely any joke is expected other than a few character ones. But it's always something new, and sometimes even adds real tension with dangerous situations. With that in mind, let's talk about the characters. While they are quite basic when you just say their main personality traits, they have a lot more to them than you think. While Kazuma is essentially a gender equality nerd and a pervert to some degree, he did try to save the girl at the beginning of the show, and he also shows this kind of compassion throughout the show. He genuinely seems to care about the people around him, even if his goals are self-centered. So while he is funny and sometimes weird, he's my favorite character overall. Aqua is just dumb. I'll be honest, I have no idea what to say about Aqua, but I guess I could say that while she's the dumbest person ever, she does actually have some kind of power, especially when it comes to dealing with undead beings and or purifying things. Darkness, even though she's a masochist that looks forward to every adventure purely because she wants to face stronger monsters that would hurt her, she does have a personality outside of that. She hates being complimented by people when she does something right, and she does get embarrassed at certain points. She just has a very weird kink. Anyways, finally we have the Crimson Demon Megamin. If anything, she has the most character development other than Kazuma, and has a pretty good backstory to her. She's a glass cannon at her base, but her reasons for doing stuff and the path she chose have some actual reasons sometimes. For example, Megamin has a friend called Yunyun, who was her only friend when she was younger, and while Megamin was aiming to be the best at explosion magic, something happened. One day, Megamin's younger sister got attacked and she hadn't gotten any explosion magic yet, as it took a lot of points to get into. So Yunyun, in the heat of the moment, decided to pick a lower level spell, or at least for the Crimson Demons, to save her. If she hadn't have done it, then Megamin and her younger sister might have died. This really affected Megamin, and her connection to Kazuma within the series shows her true personality at its best. Hence, best girl.
私の名は吉良義景、年齢33歳。自宅は森王町北東部の別荘地帯にあり、結婚はしていない。仕事は亀有チェーン店の会社員で、毎日遅くとも夜8時までには帰宅する。タバコは吸わない。
Alright. But yeah, the characters get a solid 9 out of 10 in my opinion, because of how vast most of them are, despite their first impressions. Except for maybe Aqua, but who cares about her? And as we just went on from the characters, I'll talk about the next 3 points in the same bit. The action, animation, and sound all rock to their fullest. I mean, there's nothing cooler and prettier than seeing Megamin use her explosion magic. They really went all out on it, and it paid off for sure. It's a perfect mix of pretty colours and absolute destruction all in one. And let's not forget some of the other cool fight and looks. I mean, if there's anything Aqua is good at, it's making her mostly useless abilities look cool. And I won't lie, the big battles, despite this being a mainly comedy show, are all really well done. As for the sound, they do a great job of mixing it all up, and even simple stuff like swords being swung sound accurate. But of course, Megamin's explosions still take the cake for being the best part of the action, sound-wise as well. So on that note, action gets a 9 out of 10, sound gets an 8.5 out of 10, and animation gets another 9 out of 10. Overall, I guess we rack up to 43.5 out of 50. I really loved this show, and is to this day my favourite comedy anime, but not simply due to the funny bits. I genuinely looked forward to each adventure the party went on just to see the stupid things that they'd face next, and I wasn't disappointed. Oh, and the movie is great as well, so if you enjoyed the show then give the movie a watch. Anyways, that's the end of the review. Sorry about the low amount of videos we've been making. I'm sure Kuba has touched up on this in the last video, but we just don't have the time anymore to make a video every 2 days. But it does mean that we can add more quality to our videos if we work on them every day. So I hope you can appreciate that. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review.